Hello there, people. I hope you've been keeping very well indeed. And I've got a somewhat treat for you today. So it is another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel deck construction video. Although you could probably use this in the TCG depending on analysts and stuff. And you probably think to yourself, well, hold on. I've seen something like this previously. Didn't you do Speedroids before? Yes.
Yes, I did. I know I did. But trust me, this is for the best. And I'll tell you why.
So, since my last Speedroid deck construction video, there's actually been, well, all of the Speedroid support, the remaining Speedroid support that needs to be input into the game, it's now done. It's in the Beyond Speed selection pack within the Master Duel shop. And yes, you've got to get lucky to try and pull what you need, but it is there. It's finally there. So you'll notice some new cards here, like Fuki-Modoshi, that's in the new pack. Also Speedroid Hound, and then the big beasties. So High Speedroid Cork Shooter, Baron de Floor, which yes isn't a Speedroid, but trust me, it's good. Crystal Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. And also, I do love this card, High Speedroid Clearwing Rider. The reason why I find it so funny is because all the other beasties are dragons, and then you've got this, which is a motorbike. Great, I love it. But also it's got really powerful effects. Anyway, that's enough about me bragging about all the new stuff. Although there are some, spells and traps, these two here, Speedroid Scratch and Dupligate, to cover. And yeah, I'm going to talk you all through it. So I will put my other Speedroid deck in the description below if you did want to check it out and see what the deal was with that before the support. But I'm probably not going to go back to that way of playing because this support is just crazy. It doesn't make sense to go backwards. Sorry, excuse me. It's almost like I'm killing off my old deck, but I promise I'm not. And my body is punishing me for it by coughing. But here we go. As always, we'll go through the monsters, then the spells, then the traps. But, before I do that, I want to give you a primary objective that you're going to do with this deck. So, ideally, if your first turn, you want to try and go for Baron de Fleur, Crystal Clear Wing Synchro Dragon, or depending, Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This one, although good before the support because it could negate a monster effect, any monster effect for that matter, these have slightly more effects that you can do, which is great. So I'll talk more about those, but either way, you want to try and get them out first turn, or if you're turn 2, then you're opened up to the possibility of High Speedroid Clearwing Rider, because this card can actually possibly OTK your opponent, especially with a limiter removal that you got hiding here. But yeah, it just opens the floodgates by destroying the opponent's field. You know what, we'll talk more about it later. We'll talk more about it once we get to it. Either way, you want to try and go for a negation monster on your first turn. Well, first turn definitely, or second turn usually, depending on what your opponent plays. So, how do we do that? We need to find Terrortop as soon as possible, in short. So, for those that don't know, this card, when you normal or special summon it, you get any Speedroid monster from your deck, put it into your hand. The effect only happens once per turn, but that's fine. Otherwise, it's more than overkill. It will probably be banned as opposed to restricted to 1, or it is restricted or limited, however you pronounce it. It's at 1 for a reason. And then what you want to do once you find this. Oh, by the way, I forgot to even mention the first effect. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. So especially first turn, this is the card you need. This is the card you need to slap it on, not even use a normal summon yet, and start searching for what you need. So, what do you need to go for? Usually, you want to go for Speedroid Taketomborg if you're aiming for these level 10s here. So, you bring this to your hand. Its effect, if you control a wind monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. so you still haven't used a normal summon yet. You can then tribute this card, special summon one Speedroid tuner from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except wind monsters. That's completely fine because there's only wind monsters here apart from Ash Blossom, but I mean, are you going to special summon that? I doubt it. But the thing to bear in mind with Taketomborg there as well is you can only use its special summon ability once, or sorry, you can only special summon it once per turn, so do bear that in mind. Anyway, you're then going to go into usually Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice. So I didn't use this in my previous deck construction because it was a bit slower and a bit clunkier in that deck, but now that there's this support for it, this is a must. This is a must. 2 is a minimum, I would say. Anyway, what is its effect? When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one Speedroid monster you control, except Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice, and declare a level from 1 to 6. It becomes that level until the end of this turn. Great, and also it's not restricted to using its effect once per turn either. So you can special summon it multiple times in the turn and use its effect to change levels constantly. And what you're going to do is turn Speedroid Terrortop into a level 2 to then be able to tune the two together and get High Speedroid Cork Shooter. Now, I know I said I was going to go into these effects later, but we'll spoil some of the surprise now. When you synchro summon this card, you can activate one of these effects, add one Speedroid spell trap from your deck to your hand, which sounds great, and it is great. But what you really want to do is use a second effect, which is if all materials that were used for the synchro summon of this card were Speedroid monsters and are all in your graveyard, special summon all of them, which is great. It's great. You cannot special summon monsters to turn your activate effect except wind monsters. Yeah, fine, no problem. That's never a drawback when you're making a Speedroid deck because you're always using wind monsters. Anyway, what you then get is Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice back as well as Terrortop. Terrortop's effect is only once per turn, bearing in mind, so you don't get to use that part. However, you would be able to use Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice's effect again and turn Terrortop into a level 6. That means you can then tune the 2 to get Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Now, this depends on your what you've unlocked, essentially. So in my case, I have 2 Clearwing Synchro Dragons and 1 Clearwing Fast Dragon. If yours was the opposite, you had 2 Clearwing Fast Dragons and 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon, then I'd advise to have to go for the Clearwing Fast Dragon, just the one that you've got more copies of. Mainly because there's an effect where you can special summon different Clearwing level 7 dragons later. I'll talk about that later. But yes, either way, go for the one that you've got more of. That's now on the field, Clearwing Synchro Dragon. You can then tune that with your tuner Synchro Monster, Cork Shooter, to then get out a level 10, whether it be Baron de Fleur or Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Whew, you still with me? I hope you are. So you note there that there wasn't actually a lot of cards we needed to pull that off. You could do some crazy synchro summoning straight away. It's even possible to get both of these out on the field in one turn if you've got the right hand. So that's how easy it is to get a level 10 monster out, honestly. Now, like I said, there is the option, instead of going through all that, to aim for Clearwing Synchro Dragon instead, and then bring out, where is it here? Either, well, it wouldn't actually be this one in this case. Or actually it would be. Yeah, depending on how you're playing out, sorry, instead of tuning with a level 3 monster, you can tune with the level 4 monster. So this, and it's got to be a level 7 Wind Synchro monster, bear that in mind, to total 11 stars to bring this one out. But yeah, that just shows you another opportunity to turn it into something else with the combos that are in this deck. Well, we've gone through a lot, so let's just go through the remaining monsters anyway. Like I said, that initial combo of going into a level 10, you need very few cards for, and you'll still have some at hand remaining, so don't be surprised if you could still do more. Anyway, next we have one Speedroid Maliciousmagnet. you know what? Actually, just before that, I totally forgot something. What are you going to do if you're unable to find Terrortop through usual easy means? Well, there is something you can do if you've got Speedroid Marble Machine in your hand and nothing else. So, Speedroid Marble Machine's effect, when this card is normal summoned, you can add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn. Cool, so what you want to bring is either Taketomborg, you could go for CarTurbo if you really wanted to. However, Taketomborg is the one to then put things in the graveyard that you need. So you bring this to your hand, special summon this because, again, everything in here is wind monster. Turn it, use this effect to turn it into Daiko, and then you'll link summon. Now, the reason why I say Daiko is because this has a lovely effect when it's in the graveyard. We'll come back to that later. Anyway, when you're link summoning, you'll only go for High Speedroid Rubber Band, and then you'll be able to find your beloved Terrortop. So, on that note, this has got two effects. I've gone through it before in my previous deck construction video, but just to let you know what you're going to do, use its secondary effect, which is you can banish one wind synchro monster from your extra deck, reveal two Speedroid monsters with different names from your deck whose total levels equal level of that synchro monster. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to add to your hand, and you send the other to the graveyard. So what you're going to do is go for your duplicate level 7 synchro monster to banish, and then choose Speedroid Double Yoyo and Speedroid Terrortop. Now, admittedly, there is one preference over the other as to what the opponent could give you. For obvious reasons, 100% of the time, I prefer Speedroid Double Yoyo to be put into your hand, because what you'll then be able to do is use the first effect of this to normal summon, or do an extra normal summon, one wind monster. Yes, you cannot special summon other monsters from the extra deck unless they're synchro monsters, that's fine. But yes, then you get this effect. When this card is normal summoned, you can target one level 3 or lower Speedroid monster in your graveyard, which will be Terrortop. And then you get the effect of Terrortop to again search a monster in your deck to put to your hand. Bearing in mind at this point, because you've used Taketomborg's effect, I would go for Speedroid CarTurbo in this case for special summoning purposes. So yes, there's lots of stuff that's happened there, and then you can turn it into a level 10 just like that, because you've got your level 3, level 4, and then this. So if you put all three together, you'll be able to turn it into Baron de Fleur. You wouldn't be able to go for Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon because it's got a particular effect, but yes, there we have it. Sorry, excuse me. Whew, again, we've gone through a few combos there, but that's what you can do to get Terrortop into your hand or on the field more effectively. Right, let's go back to where we were. Maliciousmagnet. So, unlike my other deck, this one is reduced to 1 just because we've had to make space for Speedroid Red Eye Dice, really. But it's got such a great effect that I love having one of these in to sneak in to steal your opponent's monster. So, for those that don't know, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon one wind synchro monster using only this card you control and that other monster. In the holes in this particular extra deck is you won't be able to synchro summon a level 4 monster or a level 9 monster. But depending on what you want to do, you could get rid of the second Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon here, or even the second High Speedroid Cork Shooter, or both, to then fill those gaps, because there is High Speedroid Puzzle at level 4, but this effect kind of blows unless it's dead, which is why I've left that out and put a secondary one of these in just as backup, because its effect is really, really good. And then there's the level 9, but as I mentioned in my last video, there isn't great level 9 wind monsters. In fact, there's only one really viable one, which is, you know what? I'm not even going to bother looking. it'll be in my other video that I looked at. So if you want to check it out, go for that. But either way, there isn't a good Speedroid monster or crystal clearing monster that you can get at level 9 to put in this synchro deck, unfortunately. However, you can nick the opponent's level 9 monster and turn it into a level 10 for Baron de Fleur. That would really annoy them. So yes, one of these. Bearing in mind, as always with this particular card, it can only tune with your opponent's monster. So even if it's skill drained, you still cannot tune it with your own monsters, which I think is just rubbish, but there we go. That's just my own thoughts. It's the way the game is. Anyway, 3 Speedroid marble machines. I always use its first effect and never really put it in the pendulum. However, I don't know, if you've got a ton of these in your hand, then maybe put one in, because once per turn, when your defense position monster is targeted for an attack, you exchange it to face-up attack position. Also, it cannot be destroyed by battle this turn. So even if you've got weak monsters taking, taking battle damage in the front, at least the monster is still on the field, which is quite good. So bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. We've already talked about Terrortop. We've got 3 Taketomborgs because they're really, really good. 2 Daiko. So I mentioned about its effect in the graveyard. It is a tuner in general, but you can also banish this card from your graveyard, special summon 1 Speedroid tuner from your hand or graveyard, except Speedroid Daiko Duke, and you can only use that effect once per turn. So if you've been going crazy with CarTurbo, you'll be able to get that back onto the field to tune again, usually. So in some cases you might tune. I'm trying to think of a scenario here. Usually a level 3 like CarTurbo or even Daiko itself with Marble Machine to get a level 5, and then you'll be able to use Daiko's effect to get the level 3 out. Excuse me, or even the level 4 and go into other things. Obviously in this case that I mentioned where you got level 5 out, you don't really want to go for level 3, so you can go into Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, but don't sleep on Daiko bringing this back out onto the field, because level 4 tuner is really good for this deck. Anyway, 2 of those. 1 Ash Blossom. You can obviously change it up for some of your favourite other meta cards if you wanted to. For example, if Lightning Storm wasn't working out for you, you could maybe put 2 Ash Blossoms in if you've got it. But yes, anyway, on to more Speedroid related stuff. 3 CarTurbos. Absolutely love this card. Like Taketomborg, it can special summon itself from your hand as long as there's a wind monster on the field. And also, you can do it as many times as you want. So it's not restricted to Taketomborg. Taketomborg is special summoned just once per turn, like regardless of effects, once per turn. Whereas this you can special summon as many times as you want. So there is another effect as well here. You can manage this card, but I tell a lie. I thought I was jumping the gun slightly. So you can't use its effect like 3 times in a row or twice in a row to special summon it out from the hand. However, you're able to special summon it out with Speed Recovery afterwards, or Monster Reborn, or Daiko. That's what I was trying to say. So scratch what I said at first. You can't use its first effect constantly, because again that would be actually kind of broken. But anyway, its secondary effect, while it's in the graveyard, if you wanted that little kick, you can banish it along with 1 other Speedroid monster in your graveyard, and all current wind monsters you currently control on the field gain 800 attack, which is lovely. Usually bridges you over that 3000 attack mark, which is good. We've then got 1 Speedroid Ultra Hound. When this card is double summoned, you can send 1 Speedroid card from your deck to the graveyard. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Then, that's a lot of graveyard in the sentences. Then target 1 Speedroid monster in your graveyard, again, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, special summon 1 Speedroid Synchro monster from your extra deck with the same level, but a different name, but negate its effects. You can only use this effect as Speedroid Ultra Hound once per turn. So, on that note, excuse me, you can usually put a level 3 monster back into your deck and then special summon High Speedroid Cork Shooter. Sure, you won't get its synchro summoned effect, but I mean, that's a level 3 tuner you've got there again on the field. And depending on what it's like, what your field's like, you can even go into Crystal Clearing Synchro Dragon. So yes, I've only got one of those. I find more than that is a bit kind of, it just doesn't flow well, you know. The other thing I'll mention with its first effect is you can choose any Speedroid card period, so it doesn't just have to be monsters. So you could put in Speedroid Dupligate, and its secondary effect, so we're going to jump the gun again a little bit here. Its second effect, during your main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 2 or higher Speedroid monster you control, reduce its level by 1, and if you do, special summon this card as a normal monster. So if you're really up against the wall and this is the only thing in your hand, then you can do exactly that. You know, dump this one into the graveyard, special summon it, and then you'll be able to tune the two together for a level 3, and you will get the add one Speedroid spell trap from your deck to your hand. You won't get the other one because this was a trap and you can't just special summon that. So yes, at least that gives you options to then either find something to special summon from the graveyard, or even get a Speedroid Scratch to search a Speedroid monster in your deck. So there's options. It gives you some outs there. The other thing I've just reminded myself there is if you're going to go into High Speedroid Cork Shooter, be careful when tuning it with, when your material is Speedroid Marble Machine. Because it's a pendulum monster, it goes into your extra deck. So you wouldn't be able to get its secondary effect of, you know, if all materials that were used for the Synchro Summon of this card are all in your graveyard. Because they're not. Because this one's sitting in your extra deck instead. So be careful of that. Be very, very careful. As you can tell, I've bumped into that mistake myself, so there we are. Anyway, moving on. We've already gone through Speedroid Double Yoyo's effect. Again, really, really good. Normal summon it and special summon a level 3 or lower Speedroid monster in your graveyard. Usually always going for the Terrortop. And then we've got 2 Speedroid Menkos, which were in my previous deck. Since there's been so much special summoning happening, I haven't had my opponents attack me directly as often, so maybe this will go down to 1 at some point, but for now, better safe than sorry, and it hasn't ruined the tempo of the deck as far as I've seen so far. So keep these 2 in, and for those unaware, when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card in attack position, and if you do, change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to defense position. I just love that disruption. Really, really good. And then the new toy, Speedroid Fuki-Modoshi Piper. If this card, so this has got 2 effects. The big one, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of other wind monsters you control, and add 1 of the excavated cards to your hand. So bearing in mind, if you've done all of this, you know, tuning and what you wanted to, and you've still just special summoned so far, or in fact you might have what you want already, go into Taketomborg and then special summon Fuki-Modoshi Piper out of it. And because the amount of special summoning spam there is, you get a good look through your deck, you know, or at least those top cards. And having +1 is always a plus, right? Well, obviously. I should say it's always good. A plus being a plus, that's kind of obvious. But yeah, really, really good there. And again, bear in mind it's a level 4 tuner and not a level 3. So that opens up other paths and options for you. And it does have another effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 level 3 or higher wind monster, so almost everything you control, reduce its level by 2. So again, if you're not able to tune because you synchro summoned so much, which I've done on occasion, then you can actually change the levels up a little bit and it gives you a few more outs there. So do bear that in mind. But yes, I've only got 1 of these because you want to be able to special summon it from the deck, ideally. Or the graveyard, depending on what was going on. You don't really want it in your hand because it will just kind of sit there until you summon it, which is unfortunate. So, those are all the monster effects so far. So far so good, right? Going into the spells, we've got some simpler stuff we all know and love. So a Raigeki, Harpie's Feather Duster, Monster Reborn, a Lightning Storm there. You've then got 2 speed recoveries, so I do love this card. Like Monster Reborn, but just for Speedroids. Target one Speedroid monster in your graveyard, special summon it. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Speedroid monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So it's a double effect there. In my previous deck construction video, I mentioned about maybe swapping Monster Reborn out for a third speed recovery, but actually, now that you got some more monsters in the Synchro deck that aren't of the Speedroid, archetype or have Speedroid in the name, then Monster Reborn comes in handy for those, especially for some of the big beauties. And then 3 Speedroid Scratch. So I'm going to throw something out there. This all depends on your style of play. I tried to get, I think it was Speed Wheel? Yes, there we go, Speedroid Wheel. I wanted that to work. I saw the dice effect inside there and thought, yes, some of it's based on luck, but surely you're going to get something, most of the time to be able to pull off some crazy plays. No, not for me. I always, roll a 1, or most of the time roll a 1 on there, which is really, really unfortunate. Anyway, its effect, discard 1 card, roll a 6-sided die, then special summon from your hand and or deck 1 or 2 Speedroid monsters whose total levels equal the result, but negate their effects. So that's the other thing I don't like. I don't like the negation of the effects. And as you can imagine, if you roll a 1 and you've used this card, you've discarded a card just to get Speedroid Red-Eyed Dice, or even Speedroid Maliciousmagnet, to be fair. But yeah, it doesn't keep your options open, unfortunately. There is a secondary effect, but it's neither here nor there. If you do not special summon, you lose life points equal to the result times 500 of what you've rolled there. You can only activate 1 of these per turn. Fine. So I got rid of those and put in the Speedroid Scratches, and they are more consistent in my opinion there. And I would advise that even if you do love Speedroid Wheel, not to mix and match these. Not unless you really, really wanted to. But ideally, I'd find either 3 Speedroid Wheels or 3 Speedroid Scratches, just for that consistency, because you know what you're going to get from that group of cards if it's just 1 card spread over 3 cards, right? So anyway, Speedroid Scratch. Send 1 Speedroid card from your hand to the graveyard, add 1 Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Beautiful. Get that Terrortop. If you've already got the Terrortop, go for something else. Go for Speedroid double Yoyo if you want to special summon out Terrortop. Go for Taketomborg if you like. Yeah, there's that opens up a lot for you. And on top of that, in terms of the discard, you can discard any Speedroid card, so you're able to, if you've got 3 of these in your hand, you can discard another Speedroid Scratch, because you can only use one per turn anyway. Or Speedroid Dupligate, because you've got that secondary effect as well that can be used from the graveyard. So yeah, love Speedroid Scratch, love it. I've mentioned about limiter removal as well. There's a load of machines in here. Yes, there's dragons and a warrior, but it can put either Clearing Rider into the OTK position. It can even put Chambara in the OTK position. And also it's a nice surprise for the opponent if they're trying to attack a weak monster, and then you in the pinch, use limiter removal in response. So yeah, really, really love that card, but reduced to 1 in this particular deck. Also, 2 Called by the Grave. So I finally got the ultra rare gems thanks to the new season pass to be able to craft these. I think these are really important in this deck, especially when your main goal is you're searching, you're scrounging, you're just wanting and desiring the Speedroid Terrortop. If that's ruined by your opponent's Ash Blossom or something similar, that's discarded from the hand and negates the effect, or something else that happens in the graveyard that stops you doing what you want to do, then this is your answer. So it's not just there because loads of people play it, it's there for a very, very good reason in this deck, because not getting that Terrortop does hamper you slightly. Well, who am I kidding? It's really, really good to get Terrortop. Although you can tune and do lots of stuff with the other cards, That Terrortop is so good. It's so good. You want to try and protect that that effect as much as possible. So have 2 of these in. We've then got a Mirror Force, Infinite Impermanence, which is a new card I've put in here. Really good to stop nasty monster effects. So target one face-up monster your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Great. Then, if this card was set before activation and is on the field of resolution for the rest of this turn, all other spell trap effects in the column are negated, which is great as well. So be prepared where you put this in the on the field rather. Try and line it up with something that can that your opponent can activate to then not have them activate it, or negate it rather. And also, if you control no cards, you can activate this card from your hand. So this is especially good if you're going second and then you want to stop your opponent from doing something crazy. So yeah, I'd even go so far as to say it could be worth putting a second one of these in, whether it be for the lightning storm, you know, trade it for the lightning storm. I love my Mirror Force, but understandably it's not good in every occasion. Yeah, whatever way you want to do it, it's more of a meta card. So if you prefer one meta card over the other, then yes, just manage your own expectations from there. We've then got 3 Speedroid Dupligate. You could definitely get away with using 2 of them. I just really like its effect of being annoying to the opponent. So its first effect, which we haven't even covered yet, is when you activate it, banish 1 wind monster from your graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls. Return it to the hand. Great, amazing. It's like a compulsory evacuation device for, you know, ideally you want to use it on your opponent's link monsters, synchro summons, exceeds, the difficult monsters to bring out anyway, just to have them go bye-bye. And then this puts this in the graveyard to be able to get the second ability off once you're ready. So yeah, I mean 3 could even be too much in this deck. You could definitely play around with 2 of them, but just see how you feel. I just think it's so great. It's just so unexpected usually. And then we got the 1 Solemn Judgment there. So yes, that is the main deck. Let's go into the Synchro deck. The Synchro deck. Sorry, I'm just seeing all those Synchro monsters there. I've got Synchro on the brains. We'll go into the extra deck and then we'll call it a day. So we've already gone through Quark Shooter's effect. Again, I've gone for the reason, I've given the reason of why I've got 2 of these in here. It's just in case the summon of one of them is stopped, then we've still got the possibility of bringing a second one out. Otherwise, you could get away with 1. High Speedroid Chanvara, as mentioned in the first deck construction video, it can cause OTKs. It gets 2 attacks a turn, and it increases its own attack by 200 points before damage calculation as well. And that extra boost stays. So if this stays on the field for more than a turn, it starts becoming a problem for the opponent. Especially if the opponent has nothing to block it with 2 attacks. High Speedroid Hagoita, again, really good card. Definitely have at least one of these in here, no matter how you play your Speedroid deck. During either player's turn, you know what? I've never even used that effect. I'm going to skip that one. Actually, no, that's a bad video maker, isn't it? Let's go through the effect. During either player's turn, you contribute this card, increase the levels of all monsters currently on the field by 1 until the end of this turn. If this card is in your graveyard and you control a Speedroid Tuner monster, you can special summon this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except wind monsters. Great, that's fine. So you're more using the second effect without a doubt. So, you know, you've tuned into it with a level 2 and a level 3. I don't know why I've pointed at that. I mean, mainly it's because it can get tuner monsters out, right? And then, yep, once this is tuned with something else, or has been blown up by the opponent, all you've got to do is put a tuner back on the field and then special summon this out again, and then you can go into a level 8. Excuse me. Yeah, look, mainly level 8, so whether you go into Kite Drake or Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. So yes, definitely have one of those in there. We've got 1 High Speedroid Kendama, not as useful this time round because you're aiming for the much higher level monsters now, but this can still help you get there in the right situation. And its effect is still quite nice, you know, if your opponent's blocking and got one of those annoying decks. So if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent, and also you got that bit of burn damage there. So You can only use each of the following effects of High Speedroid Kendama once per turn. You can banish one machine type monster from your graveyard and inflict 500 damage to your opponent. And if this card's in your graveyard and you control no cards, you can special summon this card. You know, if you've got nothing on the field, this is in the graveyard. It's going to be a little bit tricky, but it says here you cannot normal summon set the turn you activate this effect. But if you've got a way to special summon this guy again, so you've drawn into a Taketomborg, then that's an instant level 10 and goes straight into Baron de Fleur. Beautiful, beautiful stuff there. We talked about Clearwing Synchro Dragon before, but once per turn, when another level 5 or higher monster activates this effect on the field, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, great. So it is like almost like a non-negate thing, but for level 5 monsters or higher. Once per turn, when the monster effect is activated that targets one level 5 or higher monster on the field, and no other cards, you can negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, hold on, have I already read that bit? No, it's a different one. You can negate the activation, and if you do destroy it, if this card's effect destroys a monster, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. So that's quite a nice little effect it's got out. Ideally, you still want to go into the other more, one of these cards which has got more coverage for the negations, rather than things that can only half negate there, but still a good card nonetheless. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, this one's definitely better in my opinion, but of course you're synchro summoning into higher things, so be careful, take that with a pinch of salt. Once per turn, when another monster's effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do destroy that monster, great, doesn't require a particular level or anything, you just destroy it, great. And if you do that, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. Also, on top of that, if this card battles an opponent's level 5 or higher monster during damage calculation, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of the opponent's monster it is battling during that damage calculation only. Amazing, amazing. High Speedroid Kite Drake, a nice little nuke. So once it's synchro summoned, you can activate one of these effects, destroy all other cards on the field, or negate the effects of all face-up cards your opponent currently controls. That does hit spells and traps as well of your opponent. And then, if this card in your possession is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand, which is quite nice. You can only use each effect of High Speedroid Kite Drake once per turn. Fair enough. Now, our new toys. Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So, bear in mind, you need one Tuner Synchro monster, which is this, and one non-Tuner Clearwing monster, rather, which is either going to be your Clearwing Synchro Dragon or your Clearwing Fast Dragon. So, looking into these effects, this is quite a little essay here, so bear with me. Once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, except during the damage step, quick effect, you can activate this effect. Until the end of this turn, this face-up card is unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters. Also, this card gains attack equal to that opponent's monster's original attack. And then, once per turn, when a spell or trap or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this synchro summoned card you control is sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add one wind monster from your deck to your hand. Quite nice indeed. And it's definitely more of a safety net compared to Baron de Fleur, in the fact that you can stop your opponent's monsters doing anything silly. So even if your opponent's monsters has some sort of nuke effect, you can still save Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon by choosing to just ignore it, which is good. And then you ignore all of your opponent's other monster effects that could potentially affect your Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So yeah, really, really good card. So instead of the safety side, if you're going to go more on the destructive side, Baron de Fleur, such a good card and easier to special summon than Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon, because all it requires is just getting, tuning to level 10. That's it. It doesn't have to be wind or anything. But because it's a wind monster, it works perfectly in this deck because of all the other restrictions sometimes of not being able to special summon anything but a wind synchro monster. So Once per turn, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. Great, beautiful, nice little destruction there. And then, once while face up on the field, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect. You can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Again, a great little omni-negate there. Amazing stuff indeed. Now, this does have a secondary effect as well, or rather a tertiary effect, you could say. Once per turn during the standby phase, you can target one level 9 or lower monster in your graveyard, return this card to the extra deck, and if you do, special summon that monster. Don't accidentally do what I do and get all trigger happy on using effects, because it means Baron de Fleur is going to disappear, and then you have Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon back on the field. Don't get me wrong, lovely gorgeous little dragon, but this one's going to serve you better by being on the field. So yeah, don't accidentally trigger that effect. I haven't come across a situation yet where choosing Crystal Clearwing, Clearwing Synchro Dragon was better than Baron de Fleur in that instance. So there we go. Both very, very good cards. This one more aggressive, that one slightly more defensive. We'll go on to... Oh, we've already talked about High Speedroid Rubber Band as well. So we'll skip that. Clearwing Fast Dragon. Quick effect. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls that was special summoned from the extra deck. Until the end of this turn, change its attack to 0. It's great. Also, negate that face-up monster's effects. You can only use this effect of Clearwing Fast Dragon once per turn. If this card in the monster zone is destroyed by battle or card effects, you can place the card in the Pendulum zone. I've never really been able to get this effect off with being in the Pendulum zone, so you're more about just, you know, annoying your opponent who's special summoning from their extra deck there and negating their effect and reducing their attack to 0. And then the final one, High Speedroid Clearwing Rider. Excuse me. So, oh, this is a bad boy. This is a lovely little beastie. So, bear in mind its special summoning requirements. 1 wind tuner plus 1 non-tuner wind synchro monster. So you need to have something bulky out on this side. Whether it be using your level 4 tuner to go with your level 7, or a level 3 tuner to go with your level 8, or even a level 1, well, it's going to be Speedroid Red Eye Dice, to tune with either of your level 10s, you're able to then get this out. Then its effects. Here's where some crazy stuff happens. Once per turn during your main phase, you can roll a 6-sided die and shuffle wind monsters from your graveyard into your deck, up to the result. Then you can destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number shuffled. Great! And if you do, this card gains 500 attack for each card destroyed by this effect. Until the end of this turn. So just before we get into the secondary effect, yes, this relies on a dice roll, but you're going to be blowing up at least one card on the field. So there we have it. Also, this is a way of getting your synchro monsters or even your link monster back into your extra deck. So do bear that in mind. Don't put that one back in the deck though. Don't put Hergoita back in the deck. You don't want that. Yes, and then yeah. Blow up the field. Why not? Why not? Then the secondary effect, which I haven't used effectively yet, because usually you're aiming to kill when bringing this card out. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you contribute this synchro summoned card, special summon up to 2 level 7 wind synchro monsters with different names from each other from your extra deck. So that's why I'm saying about try and use your spare that you have of your level 7s first, above going straight for the one that you might only have one of. I mean, if you've got more than one of each anyway, and decide, well, I don't need certain other cards, then fine, bulk it up with the other. That means you will be able to special summon out these two. And that does negate quite a few effects, which is nice. But you've got to bear in mind that they can't then fuse back together again to make this card, unfortunately. You're going to have to make that back from scratch. But yes, beautiful card, and again, works with limiter removal. So, there we have it, everyone. Gosh, it's got late just talking about Speedroids all day, but I just love them so much, and now we've got the support from it, so I'm really, really happy that they brought this out with the Beyond Speed selection pack. So if you do decide to go for this, I wish you luck if you're not going to use gems to build the cards. and I hope you have fun with it. So, as always, do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if you've got any alternatives. We can have a discussion about it as well. And until next time, you guys take care, and I will see you again soon.